Right, we're going to do a quick video on mucking out for you. We're going to go over the basics and show you how to not only keep your beds clean, but keep the use of shavings to a minimum, as it's so expensive, especially with the coronavirus going on. Who knows where the next load of shavings is coming from. So the first thing we do is skim the top off the bed. All the clean shavings that we don't want to get rid of, we just flick it up the sides, because all we want to do is take out what's absolutely necessary and nothing else. I'm going to try and save the bedding as much as we can. Luckily I'm in with Affluence here and he's not very dirty, so it's a bit of a treasure hunt trying to find this dirty stuff with him. But what you do happen, you'll get to a point here where the shavings underneath is solid, where it's wet, and that's the stuff we're looking for. But still, when we get to that, we don't just take it all out and throw it all in the barrow. We take all the dry shavings off, because we don't want to throw any of this out. One, it's not very cheap, and two, even though it's not perfectly clean, we still need it. So as I'll show you in a minute, when you do a shavings bed properly, you have it in layers. Because if you just have clean shavings all the way through, you see this stuff is very, very dry, and you slip straight through to the concrete, which you don't want. You end up with grazes on the hocks and all sorts of problems. So the way you get a bit of firmness underneath is to use the older shavings and put that down as a base, and then the cleaner shavings, which is all around the sides at the moment, goes on top of that. That way the bed is still clean on top, but you've got something a little bit more solid underneath for them to get some grip on and provide a bit more support for them. So even when we do get a big clump, you can just shake it off. And the fork is designed to keep hold of the big bits you want to take out, but drop all the loose shavings through. Now the shavings we use is Hunter shavings. Per bag it is the most expensive shavings I've ever found, but it is by far the best. I've lost count of how many people have come up to me trying to sell me cheaper shavings, sometimes £5, £6, £7 a bag. But the thing with Hunter shavings, it's £10 a bag roughly, and on a horse like him you wouldn't use more than 2 bags a week. He's quite clean, he doesn't take much looking after. With the other shavings, it breaks down really quickly, so even if they're clean, the shaving still breaks down and it still needs topping up. And with cheaper shavings you tend to need a bag every day, so even if it's only £5 a bag, you put £5 in times 7, that's £35 a week compared to £20 a week. Even though per bag they're expensive, it works out much cheaper, and the quality is so much better. It's nicer not only to look at, it's dust extracted, and it's much more comfortable for the horses to lay on. So we've got all the dirt out here, so what we do now is cover that back up with the other shavings we've got in the middle here, and you'll see what we'll end up with is a very thin base on which all the clean shavings are going to sit on top of. We've got a nice covering here. This is still rather clean anyway. Some stables it might be a little bit dirtier, but you don't worry too much about that, because the shavings that's in these banks here is very clean, and that's what's going to end up sitting on top. I'm just going to do the other side. Come on, buddy. The neat little trick here, especially when they do the droppings in the banks, it's hard to get into sometimes. So a good thing to do is to just shake the bank up, and quite conveniently the droppings just roll down to the bottom. So all you've got to do is pick them up. Couldn't be easier. Get that one straight out. Now when it comes to adding clean shavings, a lot of people tend to approach a bed and look at the colour of it and think, oh, That needs more shavings because it's a darker colour. But irrespective of the colour, the thing that decides whether or not you need more shavings is how much is actually in here. So what we're going to do next, we've got a normal pitchfork and we're going to get into these banks and shake them right up. Once we've done that, we'll know exactly how much shavings is in this bed. As you can see, these banks fluff up quite a bit. And before you know it, you end up with a lot more shavings than you thought you had. Just take a few of these droppings out that have appeared and roll to the bottom. Go, son. Come on. Good boy. Right, now invariably, once you've gone round all the banks, you'll find the bank that was the last one to have shavings in it is much cleaner. This is the oldest. If I was going to add another bag, what we do is rotate the shavings. So we never put the clean shavings in the middle, because what happens is the middle's the first bit to get dirty, and it's pointless putting clean shavings in and then having to take it straight out again the next day, and the old shavings never gets moved. So if I was going to put a bag in, I'd pull in the dirtiest bank, put that in the middle as your base, and then I'll put the clean shavings on the bank to replace it. But as we don't need to do that, all we're going to do is tidy this bed up now. We've still got a massive excess of shavings here, so we can fill this bank up a little bit more, and then we'll just trim it at the top. Knee height is a good sort of judgment. Anything above knee height, that's probably too much shavings and too big a banks. It's completely unnecessary. And again, if it's as low as your ankle, then there's probably not enough in there. But you see, when you level these out, you get left a bit of excess shavings here. And that's the stuff we just pull into the middle and we cover the top with. Alright, let's finish that off. Over you go, son. Good boy. He is a good lad, old Affluence, isn't he? A bit of a pro now. The 5-year-old. The 2-year-olds are a bit trickier. Sometimes you have to teach them. And oddly enough, the trickiest one is Badger. Just because he likes being naughty. You see, this is where the last bale went, so this stuff is very clean. So we're going to take a nice chunk of this and bring it into the middle. There we go. Now you're covering this base with nice loose clean shavings. So you've got a nice firm hold underneath, nice fluffy white stuff on top. And there you go, a nice clean bed.